these policies that I'm fighting for are important to me because they've impacted me and my family. The last episode, we talked a little bit about how my youngest sister, Madison, passed away. She died of an overdose, and it was an overdose not related to fentanyl in any way. It was just something that none of us saw coming.
Welcome back to the Around the Districts podcast, the podcast where we bring important conversation to our community. This space is all about learning, listening, and understanding the issues that our neighborhoods face and our future. So today we're joined back with Bobby Nichols, candidate for Tempe City Council. So welcome back.
Thank you very much.
I want to start out by asking you, obviously we know this is a pretty contentious race and it's pretty close. So if you don't win in this election, what do you plan on doing to still make an impact in the community and in the city of Tempe?
I'm going to continue doing a lot of what I did before I started this race. I have been working with local progressive organizations, with unions. I've been founding organizations to fight for workers' rights going back to 2023 and even before that. I was a leader in the Phoenix Metro chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, which I am incredibly proud to say has nearly 1,000 members around Maricopa County now. That's up from about 400 when I was the chair of that organization. So we've done a really good job of building a community that is dedicated to progressive change that supports the working class.
What do you consider progressive change? Like what does that mean to you?
It means a lot of stuff. On one hand, it means getting everyday people involved with operations like mutual aid, with taking care of their neighbors, and finding that there are ways to be involved in politics outside of just running for office. On the other hand, it means shifting the political conversations that are had during these electoral races. And that's something I'm really proud of about this campaign. Win or lose, we've changed this from a race about personalities to a race about policies. We have had people talking about housing policy that we discussed first, the housing first model to address homelessness, our solutions for nutrition and transportation. And genuinely, from day one of this campaign, I said very clearly that as much as anything else, this campaign is about seizing the Overton window and moving it to the left. And I think we've really done a good job of doing that. And I think you can see that paying off for all of the challengers, but especially for myself and Brooke St. George, who we've had really good communications about progressive policies.
Yeah.
And beyond that, it's also just looking at what we need to change rather than what we should protect and keep the same.
Well, I think that people are really feeling the impact of things that are happening now, and that really helps that you're focusing on these policies while people are feeling the impact of these things being taken away from them. So it's helpful that you're shifting in this direction and people are going, oh, I need this because these things are being taken away. I need housing. I need healthcare. I need assistance. I need school, and obviously like we've been seeing with the school vouchers that, schools are being underfunded and being closed and, the SNAP benefits are taken away and people are losing their healthcare. People aren't able to buy homes. People aren't able to rent homes.
Eviction numbers are staggering.
Exactly. We had a podcast about, we had Karen Latham was on our podcast talking about that, and people even dying because they lose their homes because of evictions. And I think that it's really important to know that those policies and shifting back to policy
But
is so important.
Pushback from people because the word progressive, I feel like sometimes can be
the stigma.
Yeah, like divisive, like the, I don't want to say older, but like the more seasoned Democrats tend to feel like maybe if you're a progressive, you really want extreme things, but that's not really the case.
No,
right?
I don't think that's really the case. First of all, I don't think that being a progressive is that extreme.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't even think being a democratic socialist is that extreme. And to be very clear, I believe in policies that support the working class and help to transfer power in the working class lives to the people who are actually working and building their own lives and, having to live paycheck to paycheck. I think it should be a lot easier for people to raise a family, own a home, get to work, enjoy their time off, take their family on vacation. And that just requires us to have a society that empowers everyday working people, as opposed to giving all of the money and power to billionaires at the very, very top of our social order. I forgot what the question was. Can you ask me that one more time?
No, I'm saying sometimes when people hear Democrat, like that there's a negative connotation to the word progressive.
I've actually been really surprised by that. I came into this very ready to have a lot of confrontational conversations, but surprisingly, I've really been met with a lot of positivity. And I think that connects to the popularity of candidates like Bernie Sanders, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like Zoran Mamdani, especially, seeing that these are effective legislators and effective leaders who also represent themselves as democratic socialists for the same reasons that I am representing myself as a democratic socialist, because we want to build a world that works for workers, not just the very, very ultra wealthy.
Right. Well, and I think, again, that goes back to what we're seeing, tax breaks for the uber wealthy, and everyone else falls behind.
Yeah.
We know that trickle-down economics doesn't work. We know it. We've seen it time and time again. And here we are giving tax breaks to these people, and anyone else under this income level loses.
Yeah.
So I think all those effects of that people are really feeling. So when, Bernie Sanders and AOC come out, we were seeing these people go to their rallies en masse.
Yeah.
I mean,
he saw that, but it didn't change the thought process that progressives were extremists, and mainly from the Republican side, right?
I don't know. I think maybe it did, because if he's not seeing so much pushback, I don't know. Maybe it,
I think one of the main things here is that the focus has sort of shifted, and Zoran puts this really, really well. He says, we are laser focused on the economics of affordability. We need to make sure that working people can afford their homes, their food, their childcare, their transportation, and their medical insurance or their medical needs.
Right.
These are the basic building blocks of living in the modern world. And if the politics move towards assisting those people and all people, then we will have a lot of success. And so I think that's eminently reasonable.
Yeah.
And when you present it like that, it's much easier to get past the conversation.
And whether you're calling a Democrat or democratic socialist or progressive, it doesn't really matter. Those are the things that people want.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't know, one way or another doesn't matter to me. I don't have the same views, but what I'm saying is, as far as what people think about progressive.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that the Republican Party has been able to label the progressive candidates
absolutely
as extremists.
Yes.
And that's what I mean by being divisive. And even so, some people, even within the Democratic Party, would feel like the progressive tend to be younger and more extreme to some people's views, and that's all I meant.
No, completely.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying one way or another they're right or wrong. I'm just saying there's a view out there,
right,
for some candidates.
Yeah, and
I feel that way.
I think that view, while it's definitely present, has been easier to overcome by focusing on how I can help those people in their day-to-day lives.
Affordability is now the key word.
Right.
Like everybody's using these days. Even the ones we don't really care about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so in the same way that progressive did really become a word that was at one point representative of the Bernie Sanders type, now people who are, voting for tax breaks for the rich are still calling themselves progressive, because they're looking at the culture war sides of what was a progressive candidate, rather than focusing on the affordability stuff, which is designed to level the playing field for everybody, ultimately making it so that the culture war issues that Republicans thrive on are not relevant to the discussions that we see in that space.
Right.
Only because those issues they are like red meat to the Republican Party base, and changing the conversation in a way that actually affects change in the culture war spaces requires us to level the playing field economically. There is no such thing as a social liberal and a fiscal conservative. Fiscally conservative means socially conservative because of the way our country has been built.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think too that it's a good thing that views are shifting because the times have shifted. People are different. Everything changes, right?
Yeah.
And now I feel like the generation that you're in, all of those people are not accepting the status quo.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. And, I think sometimes it's good for people to shake things up a little bit, you know what I mean? And see things from a different point of view. So getting back to city council.
Yes.
We know if you're not elected this time, do you plan on running again?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the messaging that I'm running on right now will be even more effective in a presidential election year because Trump has done so much to destroy the concept of affordability in America that running on a platform that directly opposes the policies that he is using to benefit the wealthiest of the wealthy, to damage our community safety and security, like fighting back against ICE surveillance in our neighborhoods. That is something that will be even more effective in that race than it is in this one, though I do believe it has been effective. So this is not my last race by any stretch of the imagination.
Do you have any thoughts of anything other than Tempe City Council? Or just right now is Tempe City Council?
Not at this moment. Okay. I really believe that the way that we can most impact our lived experiences and the lived experiences of our neighbors is at the local level. Right. We're facing national issues of affordability and fascism. And the way that we can protect the most people is by building local infrastructure that actually removes those dangers from everyday life.
Right. So this going back to this election and the presidential election, this election, I think you said there was only 24% of voter turnout.
Well, so far on the votes that were counted from the Tempe City Council last night.
It looks like it's going to end up around 26, 27.
26. So only 26% of registered voters turned out to vote in this election. So obviously we know in a presidential election, you get a lot more voters. So you would definitely have a way bigger impact in a presidential election.
And 2028 will also be a mayoral election in Tempe, which also typically has higher turnout rates.
Yeah, so you'd have higher turnout rate. You would definitely have, all of the things that
there'll be a lot of people on ballots.
There'll be a lot of people. Yeah.
And I'll have 2 more years of doing this important work.
Yeah.
Fighting for the people of Tempe as a person who really does care about his community.
Not that you're not going to win. We all.
Yeah, we're not.
We think you are. We think you are.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I would like to win, obviously. But I think that winning for me as somebody who came in with no name recognition, somebody who has been very explicit about the movement building side of this campaign, it looks different than winning for the incumbents, let's say, which is a very, A or B, you win the seat or you don't win the seat. For me, I feel very confident that this campaign has moved our Overton window, our public discussion to the left in a really progressive way. I feel very confident that our campaign has built a operation that can knock on a ton of doors for really important policies. Like we've knocked 40,000 doors in this race. We've had 60,000 calls in this race. That is not something that any other Tempe City Council campaign can say, as far as I'm aware. And I've talked to Lauren Kuby, who had a very, very strong grassroots campaign. She knocked nowhere near 40,000 doors. Like we have a lot to do here, and I'm really impressed by what we've already done. Yeah. So winning to me is a little bit more.
You've already won.
I've already won.
Yeah, basically,
very
real
way.
Yeah, and to have done such a successful campaign and to be so close with incumbents in the race is pretty impressive as well. So it's not, that is also a win, for this. And obviously not all the vote is in yet, but to see such a close race is really awesome.
That's impressive. For no name recognition before this race.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Well, hopefully we'll see, today, maybe by Friday, we'll know the final outcome of this election. But if elected, what kind of leader do you think you want to be?
I want to be a leader who is of the people and for the people. I want to be doing community town halls constantly. I want to be having office hours in City Hall that allow people to come and talk to me directly. I want to build a community coalition of partners around Tempe who have been working in mutual aid and progressive policy development, even in housing and homelessness, in order to write important policies. And this is another thing that I bring to the table is like, I have written laws before at the city and state level. I passed a law, or I got a law passed at the state of Arizona in 2022, which expanded, doubled the length of protective orders and emergency protective orders for survivors of domestic abuse and their minor children. And that was something that I just knew how to do because I'd worked on writing laws in San Francisco. So it's something that I bring to the table that I would like to give to the people of Tempe who don't currently have a city council member with experience writing laws themselves.
You would be the only lawyer, right?
I would be the only attorney on city council if elected.
Attorney.
Yes.
Better word.
I would be
than
the
lawyer.
only esquire on the city.
You would be the only person with a law degree.
Yeah, that's right. I have a Juris Doctorate, yes.
So how is it working with the Attorney General's office?
The Attorney General's office is the largest law firm in the state. Really, it's just sort of important to say that up front. So I have literally no day-to-day interactions with Chris Mays, except that I love her and I think she's incredible. I think about her constantly. She's fantastic. No, but I think that working for the Attorney General's office has been a really huge blessing for me. I went to law school expecting to do work in intellectual property, especially around copyrights and trademarks. But in order to get the scholarship that allowed me to go to law school, I had to participate in a program called the Homeless Advocacy Project. And that was my first experience representing tenants, representing unhoused people, representing people who were struggling with their mental health, and that was impacting their housing situation, same with addiction. And it really opened my eyes to how much good an attorney can do for their local community if they're willing to put their professional focus on assisting the average everyday person instead of making money for themselves. So there are definitely law firms that would pay assistant attorney generals more than what they get paid at the attorney general's office. But that's the trade-off. You are doing something for the world, and you also get public servant loan forgiveness, which is great. Absolutely incredible. Even though I got a good scholarship, like you still end up in debt. It's just expensive. You get a solid benefits package. I'm not trying to pitch people to become an assistant attorney general right now, but it's also an incredible community of people who really genuinely care. And you can't say that about every workplace.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
What is it that you want people to know about you that they don't currently know?
I think one of the things that people think about me when they see my campaign and they see my professional experience and they see how dedicated I am to specific policies is that I think I know better than everyone. And I want to make it really clear. I don't know what I don't know. Like, I am not this arbiter of intellectualism that I have sort of been. I can see how I could come across as a bit high and mighty, but I want to make it really clear, especially when it comes to policies relating to homelessness, mental health, and addiction services, that these policies that I'm fighting for are important to me because they've impacted me and my family. The last episode, we talked a little bit about how my youngest sister, Madison, passed away in 2025. We didn't get into what caused her death. She died of an overdose, and it was an overdose not related to fentanyl in any way. It was just something that none of us saw coming. She had experienced mental health situations throughout her young life, and she had engaged in some risk-seeking behaviors throughout her young life, but none of us knew that this was going to become an issue that would eventually take her life. And that every single person who is unhoused is at a higher risk of addiction, is at a higher risk of mental health crises, and is at a higher risk of suicide. And these are things that I want to control as much as possible, because I know the other thing is every single person who is unhoused is somebody's son, is somebody's daughter, is somebody's brother, is somebody's sister. And I don't want anybody to be in the same situation that I was. I know that I can't prevent every single death of despair that arises as a result of economic inequality or the inability to access mental health care services or the inability to access addiction services or the inability to access family reunification services. But I do know, based on the statistical evidence, that the best way to get our unhoused population into addiction services, mental health services, and family reunification services is providing housing first. And I'm really dedicated to making that happen, whether it's with me on the council, whether it's me actively lobbying council members, whether it's me fighting at the state level to make this happen. I'm going to continue to do this work, not just because, it's important to me, but because I think it's the right thing to do for everyone.
And it's a way to honor your sister and her legacy too.
It's absolutely a way to honor my sister.
Help somebody else.
Yeah. And she was going to go to graduate school to become a therapist and a counselor. And so I want to make it as easy as possible for people like her to help people in Tempe and around the state.
I think that's an important issue too, because you never know what battle people are fighting.
Yeah.
And your family didn't realize she was fighting a battle. And then it's just another way to say, hey, there are policies and, programs out there that really can help people see that there's a different way to do something than what ultimately, this is in schools too.
Yeah.
When you think about suicide in schools, it's because somebody thought they didn't have another way. Yeah. And so to have those policies in place is beneficial to everybody. So thank you for doing that for Tempe as a Tempe resident.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. Bobby, if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
I am on all social media platforms at Bobby for Tempe. That's BOBBY, the number 4 TEMPE. My website is bobbyfortempe.com. You can spell for either as a number or as the word FOR. And I would look forward to hearing from anyone. You can reach out to me via direct message. There's an email address and a phone number on my website. I will be keeping this website up, win or lose, because I do intend to run again if I do not win this time. And I really do hope to hear from you. I get back to anybody who reaches out with any question that you have. No question too big or small. I really want to have these connections.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the show. Your personal experiences obviously are very important because, like Nicole said, you never know what someone's motivation behind what they're doing is. And I think it's important to know that. We think it's important to know that. And I think a lot of people do things because of their personal motivation. But I don't think people realize that things affect them until they affect them. Yeah. So having those experiences really make a big difference. So thank you for sharing that with us and our viewers. That's very personal, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this.
Yeah. And hopefully, if this campaign doesn't turn out the way it does, hopefully it will. If it doesn't, we will see more of you, and maybe we'll have you back on the show for more.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you again. Yes, really appreciate it.
And this has been the Around the Districts podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any comments or questions that you'd like to ask, please let us know. You can share, like, and follow, and we will see you on the next episode.